Namaskar, welcome back. Some are attributing it to the special intensive revision of polls. Some are saying the unprecedented security deployment is the factor, while many others are saying that apart from the arrangements and the polling, it is actually the BJP workers fighting back the TMC's high-handedness. But there is one thing on which most commentators are agreeing vis-a-vis the West Bengal elections, and that is this Bengal election feels different. So what is it that has made this particular poll different from previous ones? Take a look. The first phase of the West Bengal polls have set new records in voter turnout and election management. The Election Commission of India reported that turnout reached over 92%, a figure unprecedented in the state's recent electoral history. More than 3.60 crore voters, including 1.79 crore women, exercised their franchise across 152 constituencies in 16 districts of the state. In absolute numbers, 24 lakh more voters have exercised their franchise. The Thursday polls also witnessed notably large number of first-time voters. This election was different in the fact that a large number of fake, forged and dead voter identities were removed through the constitutional process of Special Intensive Revision or SIR. Over 2,400 companies of the Central Paramilitary Forces were deployed, reassuring voters of safety. Very few incidents of violence were reported in comparison to previous elections that were marred with multiple violent incidents and even post-poll violence. Another landmark was that no repolling has been ordered anywhere in the state. This is also a first. Will this trend hold in the second phase too, is the question on everyone's mind. So, with that report, which was based on the first phase of polling in West Bengal, let me now directly connect to our panelists for this special edition of Media Scan. I have here with me Shantanu Gupta, well-known author, political commentator, well-known media personality. Welcome back, Shantanu, to Media Scan. And with us, our colleague from Kolkata, Prasenjit Bakshi. You have been listening to him on Media Scan on earlier occasions, right there in the thick of things. And Prasenjit, allow me to start with you. Very simple and direct question. You have seen perhaps decades of politics and so many dozens of elections in your reporting career. Would you agree with the commentary that this West Bengal election feels different from previous ones?
Yes, it is of course a different type of polling what we have observed on 23rd, except one or two general incident. We have seen that out of 152 constituencies and around 44,000 booths, the entire polling went on peacefully, and which is really unlikely in West Bengal in so many years. Since left front government, we have not seen such type of peaceful polling, and at the same time, such type of huge percentage of polling. Of course, in West Bengal, we have seen that more than 80% of polling for the last so many years. But there is a debate since 23rd that this percentage of polling is due to the SIR, because in SIR almost 10% name is deleted, so 10% increase in percentage. So there is a debate that whether you know the mathematics or you do not know the mathematics. But the point is that out of that deleted 10% of names, around 6% was 6% was the names who were not at all existed. either dead voter or duplicate voter or migrated voter. So those voters were basically, those names were basically false voter, either voted by the left front cadres during the left front regime or by the Trinamool cadres during the Trinamool regime.
All right, hold on. Let's carry on with this point first before we come to other aspects of the polling. Shantanu Gupta, do you agree that, of course, as Prasenjit pointed out, West Bengal polling has been quite satisfactory even in the past. But this surge of above 90% voting, do you think it is a vindication of the SIR? Because people who were weeded out were those who actually should never have been there in the voter rolls. And therefore, we see the surge because the base of the voter rolls is now different from what it was. And I'm particularly asking this question because the Trinamool Congress has been very vocal in saying that the SIR has cut the names of a big number of people who are actually genuine voters, but they have not been able to exercise their franchise.
Yes, no, I think we have mentioned a couple of points. So first of all, I think let's analyze the increased voting, right, which is almost a 10% increase. Though if you scan through multiple researches of India and abroad, for small increases in voter percentage, the research is not conclusive, right? That if the 2-3% increase in the turnout, will it help the incumbent or the challenger? But the research is...
No, we are not on that. Right now, Shantanu, we want to understand if it is the SIR which has led to this robust polling.
See, robust polling, I'm saying SIR is one. SIR is because now you have a very neat, electoral roll. So someone who's dead. And also now it's very difficult because of the central agency to get the fake voters in, right? And because the 100-meter rules, because of the no bikes rule, because of the multiple point, your voter ID is getting checked. So because of all of that, so first of all, a neat voting list and multiple checks and cameras in the vicinity inside, it's very difficult to sneak in a fake voter, right? Because of that is a very robust list. And as you rightly said, Bengal, even Assam, Odisha, you have to give it to them. They have a high voter percentage, which is like a rarity for someone like a Delhi or a Mumbai or some parts of other states also. Going above 60% becomes difficult, and 75 to 80 was norm in these eastern states. So, but they also going 10% plus. I think it's an effect of two things: neater voting list and a tighter security. For that, the voters can come out to they don't have a fear to come out to the polling stations, and once they are there, fake voters are weeded out. So I think these all resulted into a higher voting percentage in West Bengal.
Noted. So coming back to Prasenjit, let's come to the deployment of the forces. We know it is an unprecedented scale of deployment, but perhaps if you look at what happened in 2021, even the earlier election in 2016, but particularly in 21, when elections were marred by violence and the post-poll scenario was much worse, as you have covered yourself. Now, Mamata Banerjee, Chief Minister, has been saying repeatedly that this unprecedented scale of deployment is meant to intimidate voters and to make them vote in a certain way or to scare those who will not like to vote in favor of the BJP, is what she is saying. From the experience in the first phase of voting, do you think the deployment of so much of CAPFs has been intimidating, or has it been helpful in creating a fearless and a free environment for people to come out and vote?
Smita, let me give you two examples. Number one, the highest percentage of polling is in the district of Alipurduar, where the deletion during the SIR is the least. That is the district where the deletion during the SIR is the least, and there the polling percentage is almost 96%. So those who are saying that during the SIR impact the percentage deletion, the percentage is more, this mathematics is not clear to me. Number one. Number two, this logic of Mamata Banerjee's again is not understandable to me, because the percentage of polling in terms of single assembly constituency is highest in Mothabari constituency, in Samserganj constituency, in Farakka constituency. These are the constituency, according to Mamata Banerjee, were the most vulnerable during the SIR. So these people or constituent of these constituencies, they are not afraid of the CAPF. The people of those constituencies, they came out freely. They came out without fear, or in the according to the BJP slogan, they have bhai nahi bharosa se they have come out and they have casted their poll. And whether they have casted their poll in favor of Mamata Banerjee or Humayun Kobir or Congress or BJP, that is a different issue. But they have come out even after deployment of so large amount of CAPF.
Okay,
So,
okay. Let me get your take.
also,
Yes.
Here also, I don't understand the logic of Mamata Banerjee.
All right. Shantanu Gupta, is it a fact that the areas which are not known to vote in favor of BJP and are staunch supporters of Mamata Banerjee, the voting percentage has been much higher than other places? So therefore, this intimidation logic doesn't seem to be showing on the ground. What do you think?
See, we have seen that in the way for Uttar Pradesh, law and order is an asset. On the contrary, for West Bengal, last 15 years, we have seen that law and order is a major problem of Mamata Banerjee. Mamata Banerjee can tout about anything else but law and order. We have seen even to celebrate a Durga Puja, people have to go to High Court. To celebrate a Ram Navami, people go to High Court, right? And we have seen in multiple elections, pre-poll violence and post-poll violence in same. We have seen from Sandesh Khali to Arjikar that the local administration was at a lurch. It was not behaving properly. So law and order is a problem in West Bengal. That's not even need a rocket science, right? And similarly, there was a typical politics of left adopted by TMC that you get fake voters in, you appease the minorities, and you make sure you intimidate through various means, by intimidating, by calling out the jobs, or by post-poll violence, you intimidate the voter of the opposition party. This is a typical tactics of left, and TMC learned it, right? So when the fair election is happening now, right, people are, and we have seen videos where the central forces are saying we will remain here till the polling date, even after that if needed, right? That's giving assurance to the people that this time, the first time in Bengal's history, you can vote and will not be part of the post-poll violence, and hopefully that will happen, and central agencies will ensure that. And because of the cameras and all the paraphernalia which you discussed, and this time it's a fair voting. And in a lot of other areas where a lot of voters, and I think there'll be data, you'll find out there will be multiple voters who might have voted for the first time.
Yes, in fact, not only the
old age voters,
yes.
multiple old age voters who might be 50
exactly,
years, 40 years, 60 years, 70
no, there
years,
is a
who
very
not
interesting statistic.
They have
Apart from
they
the
have openly
surge,
come out before cameras. They have openly come out before cameras of different channel that they are voting for the first time
Can you imagine that?
life.
Can you imagine that?
Yes.
See,
that is why, Shantanu, there is an interesting statistic that we have just followed. Apart from the surge in the percentage, which we have all seen, you know, when the Election Commission was looking at the absolute data of voters, it was found that 24 lakh people more voted than in the previous elections. So 24 lakh more voters exercised their franchise in this very phase. Now, all of them cannot be first-time voters, right? Which means a lot of people have voted for the first time ever. And that itself
I think this
is
will
a
be
vindication.
very interesting data. It will be a very interesting data that my voter card got issued in this year, and when I voted for the first time, and will be highest in this election. That voter card not issued my 5 years, 10 years, 15 years, 20 years back, but this is the first election I voted. There will be a huge number of
since this is media scan,
though the total number of voters of these 152 constituencies have gone down after SIR.
Yeah,
right.
Even then.
But then the polling has gone up, and perhaps the total number of voters has gone down simply because the list has been cleansed. Lot of the deceased and duplicate and shifted people are not there. It happened in Bihar as well. And some people sitting here in Delhi were, you know, really beating their chests that the names of women and men in Bihar have been cut away. cut off in the SIR, but it was actually because there were a lot of dead people and people registered in different addresses, the same person. So obviously they were voting only in one place. However, let's carry on with the Bengal perspective. And now we don't have much time left. So both of you gentlemen, I want your take on this. And that is the politics of this, the new trend in the voting. Bharatiya Janata Party, the Prime Minister, Home Minister, and senior leaders of the BJP, leaders of Bengal BJP, have been claiming that this is a clear wave against the incumbent and in favor of change. However, the TMC leaders have been saying that there will be no change. It is people who are coming out in anger against the SIR and the fact that Bengal is being defamed, Bengal is being targeted, and it is a vote in anger in order to get back Didi with a bigger margin. Which of the two seems more likely? Prasenjit first.
Look, I should not make any opinion. I would like to narrate the opinion of one of the candidates of Trinamool Congress, naming the Byron Vishwas. Byron Vishwas was a model of anti-BJP, anti-Trinamool left Congress combination in a bypoll from Sagardighi a couple of years back, though later he joined Trinamool Congress, and this time he was candidate of Trinamool Congress from Sagardighi in Murshidabad district. Today morning, he made a comment before camera that I am not winning, and this candidate of Trinamool Congress from that constituency of Murshidabad is not winning. That candidate from Murshidabad is not winning. So he was so frustrated that he has named so many candidates of Murshidabad and said that we are not winning from Murshidabad. So he was one of the model candidates of Trinamool Congress from Murshidabad, and he himself was making confession before the television camera that they are not winning. So
that's an interesting anecdote. It's an interesting anecdote that people representing the, those who were the faces of the ruling combined themselves are seeing some change. Maybe that is the writing on the wall. We'll wait for the second phase of voting. But Shantanu Gupta, from your experience, we have seen you doing very in-depth study in every election based on data, not on opinion. And we know for past about 20 years, this old maxim that we were taught in journalism schools, that heavier voting is usually a vote for change, has not been corroborated in all elections. It is a mix and match. In a lot of places, it is a vote in favor of the incumbent. In many other cases, it is a vote for change. In this Bengal election, based on the first phase voting, which way do you think the wind is blowing?
I think, Smita, you are perfectly right. So change in voting percentage, lower or higher both, is research-wise is inconclusive that whether the benefit will go to the incumbent or the challenger. But having said that, all the researches are done for the voter change, voter turnout increase for 2 to 4%, right? Very rarely, I think there will be hardly any cases where there will be a 10% voter increase happened for the previous election. And I'll tell you two very interesting things.
Yes,
if you see the 2011 election, there was almost 5.5% change, which was also quite a change. When Mamata Banerjee came to power after beating, this is also a 10% change. So if you see the research of University of Cambridge and multiple other research, we say for 8 to 12% of voter change, voter turnout change, it's very conclusive that goes against the incumbent, which is Mamata Banerjee in this case. So I think when there is a super high change in the voting percentage, most of the research shows that it goes against the incumbent and in favor of the major challenger, which is BJP in this case.
Interesting. So I think there is a lot to look forward to in the second phase of the voting. Very quickly, both of you gentlemen, in one line if possible. Prasenjit Bakshi, is the second phase of voting, will it have a greater support base going by the areas that are going to vote? Will it be better news for Mamata Banerjee, or are these areas going to make the BJP's argument stronger?
Look, in the second phase, there will be South 24 Parganas, the most notorious place, ruled by Abhishek Banerjee, not by Trinamool Congress, not by Mamata Banerjee. So that is one of the major challenge for Election Commission and for BJP also. And in general, this phase is a stronger phase for Trinamool Congress and a challenging phase for BJP.
Fine, fine. Very quickly, Shantanu Gupta, it is the second phase where we will see the, the core of Kolkata, the suburbs of Kolkata, Howrah, etc. going to vote. These areas have been quite loyal to Mamata Banerjee, all kinds of people, whichever community or whichever class of the society. And that is why we are seeing a kind of a carpet bombing being done by the BJP road shows, rallies, programs. The Prime Minister visited people, by now the viral Jhalmuri pit stop and Prime Minister's boat ride in the Ganga. All put together, the BJP is trying its best to change the fortunes in these areas, Kolkata and the surrounding districts. Do you think there is an indication of a change in the trend?
I think, first of all, I agree that the first phase was favorable to the BJP. If you see the last time, the 77 seat, that's the one, 59 came from the first phase of polling, which is the covered in the first phase. Second will be more challenging. But as you rightly so, BJP has carpet bombed, be it the strategy people or be it the star pracharaks. And Mamata ji is only left with Andurani Baharuni. That's the only argument she's left with. She's saying, Jhalmudi khali machli kab khaoge, which is a very vague argument. You're asking a vegetarian prime minister to eat a machli. That's the only argument she's left with. And in a debate format, I think normally so, when you're left with such feeble arguments, it means I think the defeat is evident. And the first time we are seeing a non-confident Mamata Banerjee, who has said in 2 rallies कि TMC फिर आएगी तो फिर मिलेंगे, right? We never heard such kind of defeatist statements earlier from a very, very fighter kind of image of Mamata Banerjee.
Fine. Both of you gentlemen, thank you so much for sharing your inputs. Prasenjit Bakshi right there in Kolkata covering minute-to-minute, ball-by-ball account of the entire election. And Shantanu Gupta always so gracious to join us whenever we have asked him to join. On that note, viewers, it will be interesting to watch whether what Mamata Banerjee is saying is actually, as Shantanu Gupta says, a defeatist state of mind she is going through, or is it strategic? Also, will all the efforts of the BJP in these 2 phases really bring a change which they were not able to implement in the last elections? With these points, gentlemen, thank you very much for joining Media Scan. And we will get back to you after the second phase as well to have a rounded view of these entire West Bengal assembly polls. Whether Mamata Banerjee and the TMC manage to come back for a 4th time in West Bengal or the BJP will pip them and create history is still uncertain. One thing, however, is 100% certain, and that is the Election Commission has proved that elections can be held fearlessly in a fair manner without any violence if the cooperation of the people is there, and that is already historic, a chapter that this West Bengal election will be remembered for. Viewers, please join us next week for another debate on Media Scan. Till then, namaskar.